Hey, I'm Sensei Matt Federico, and this is one of my biggest tips for how to teach great martial art class. Alright, so this is it. Very simple. What kind of learner is your student? So there's two types of learners. So you have an auditory learner. So that means that when they hear a technique, so let's say the technique is like a 1-2 punch. They hear you saying 1, 2, and in their head they go, okay, when he says 1, I do this hand. When he says 2, I do this hand. Then you also have a visual learner. A visual learner is someone who's looking at what you do, and everything that you do, right or wrong, beware, they're going to copy. So everything they do. Now here's the good and bad and little indifferences of all those. Let's start with auditory. If you are showing a move to an auditory person, so let's say you're like, okay, so this is what you're going to do. You're going to go like this, and you're going to hit like this, and that's what you're going to do, and you teach them like that. In their head, if they don't have anything to repeat back to themselves while they're doing it, you might see them struggling to remember. So they might be like, what was after this? Was it this? And you're going to be like, no, after this was that. Wait, but I thought after this was... And the problem is because if you're an auditory learner, when you recall information, you're basically, in your head is almost saying it back to yourself. So your head is saying, okay, chop, chop, palm, punch, and it's saying it to yourself. So if you don't give them something to say, they might not remember it. Some really cool things that I'll do with this is, like if we're doing a technique like 7 swords, I'll make them count it so that they kind of associate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And now, all right, they're counting their sevens. If you have a younger child and maybe they need something more, you can make it fun. Like, I love karate with Sensei Matt. You know, and now they're saying that to themselves. One of my favorites is, I love buffalo wings with blue cheese. And now, you know, if it's funny, they might remember it even more because now they're like, oh, I want to do it again. That's funny. I love buffalo wings with blue cheese or whatever it is. And they might enjoy it more. The whole point is hidden reps. That last one was really bad, so don't judge me on that. Is you want those hidden reps in there so that they keep doing it over and over and over again. So they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm a visual learner, so if you say it to me over and over again, that doesn't really connect it. The thing about a visual learner now is you need to do it in a way that they can visualize what it looks like. So if you're facing a visual learner, like I'm facing you now, everything might be flipped or backwards, and then you'll be like, okay, they're going to have to take whatever you're showing them and turn it. So here's some tips on that. One is, if this is your visual learner, stand next to them and face the same direction. Because if I put my right leg forward and Mr. Wave Mastari here, okay, and he has his right leg forward, okay, good job, Mr. Wave, then he's able to visualize, okay, this is what it should look like. It should look like 1, 2, 3, you know, and he's copying the way that I'm moving. He's able to see that. If I'm facing him, and even if I do a mirror image, now he's got to flip the image, so it's tough. It's great if you have a mirror. I have mirrors in my studio, so when I'm teaching a technique, I'll stand next to my student, and I will do it in the mirror with them so that they can copy it that way. Now, some people might be saying, well, how do you know what are they? Are they visual or auditory? It's a percentage, so it's not like some person's 100% visual and 0% auditory. It doesn't work like that. It's just what percentage more are they? So I still hear things, but I visualize things more than anything. So, you know, I would say I'm like 70% visual, and I still have 30% auditory. But I need to see things to remember them, to recall them. So when you're teaching, you obviously want a combination of both, but keep this in mind for when you're teaching so that you know, hey, this student is way more of an auditory learner. I need to make sure that I keep repeating myself and saying to them the same words and over and over again so that they can recall it back to me. Okay? And then also having them say it. So like, even sometimes my adults look at me like really crazy when I'm like, okay, we're gonna do a form, count. 1, 2, or whatever it is, and I'm making them count the form. It's because they might not realize, but they could be way more of an auditory learner than they realize. And if they're not counting their form or saying something to help them remember it, they might not remember it and they will get frustrated, and then they'll think they're not good at karate, and then it's a whole uphill battle. listen, everyone learns differently. Now, the trick is if someone's a way more visual learner, they see it, you have to just keep showing it to them so that they copy it. And they need to keep doing it so that they get that. Everyone's going to eventually hit that muscle memory. So whether you're a visual or auditory learner, once you get muscle memory, it's just stuck in there. You know, just like walking. When you're walking, you don't think right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot. You just walk. So when you're teaching your students, you want to teach them in a way that they get to a point where they're not thinking about the steps as they do them. When they're doing a technique, they're not thinking, okay, step forward, left foot, twist my body, block, punch, turn, hammer fist, cover hand, soft bow, chamber your right knee up, throw out my kick, re-chamber, place my foot down. That's way too much for anyone to recall. But if it's muscle memory and they're not thinking about it and it's just automatic, then they'll be able to do the technique. A way you could test that is kind of exactly what I'm doing right now, is if your student can do the move while talking to you or telling you a story or reading a newspaper, which would be very difficult. But if they're able to do something else while they're doing their technique, then they don't think about their technique. Sometimes I feel like I'm teaching a technique and I'm like forgetting what I'm even talking about or what I'm even doing because I don't even have to think about the technique to do it anymore. It's just automatic. So those are the biggest tips that I'm going to give you right there is auditory or visual, whatever it is, you want to pound it in over and over and over and over and over again so that they get it, that they can drill it, and just keep making them do reps. Reps are everything. I don't care what anyone says. Reps are the most important thing in martial arts. If you're learning anything, the more times you do it, the better you'll be. If you're a martial art instructor, your goal should be every class, how many reps can I get out of my students in this window? If you get more reps, you'll win. That's the best way. You get more reps, your students will be spectacular, and I promise that. All right, guys, good luck. I hope this tip helped a lot.